All right, so good morning or good afternoon or good night, whenever you're watching this. I want to give you some helpful hints and some guidance for your plant project poster. So this poster that you're making is going to show everything that you've been doing with your plants that you've been growing in class for the last month and a half or so. So when we first started this project, we had you choose one thing about your plant that you were going to change, so you were having a controlled experiment. So these are the things that you're going to want to include for your poster. So you may definitely include a theme or a background, and you can change the formatting any way that you want as long as it looks professional and has all of the required parts. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 required parts in addition to the title and your name. So you will not want to use a font size smaller than 10, otherwise we will not be able to see it. So everything needs to be in font size 10 or bigger. And I know that still seems really small, but when we project it, it will look nice and big, and size 10 will still be okay. So the first thing is your project title. You want to try and come up with something creative, or maybe it's based on the individual thing that you changed in your experiment rather than the control. So you're going to come up with your own project title, and then you will put your name. If you can put an Infinity Middle School logo up here, that's really cool, because in real scientific posters, they always have images up here showing where it's affiliated with. So since our project is done through Infinity, that would be super cool if you could put a little Infinity logo up here. For your hypothesis, if you look in your science notebooks on page 66, when we first did our experimental setup for plants, you will see that you have your hypothesis for number 3. So as long as you did that before, it's going to be pretty simple to take that and put it right here. And the importance of doing that is we wanted to know what your goal was and what you thought was going to happen when you first started. It is okay if it was wrong. So if your hypothesis does not end up working out, that's okay. You are not going to lose points for that. You just put what you thought at the beginning. Next, the introduction section. The introduction section is where you're going to discuss what plants actually 100% need to grow, and then what are some things that are helpful for them. And you want to give some reasoning as to why you chose what you chose for your experiment, why you chose to try that one thing to change. So this is where you're going to explain all of that. Okay. Explanation of variables. We have 3 types of variables. We have independent variables, dependent variables, and controlled variables. Your independent variable is the one thing that you chose to change on purpose that makes your experiment different from everybody else's. Your dependent variable are the things that we measured during this experiment, the things that we measured on a regular basis. There's probably 2 of them. And then your controlled variables are everything else that you kept the same. So right here, you're going to explain your independent, dependent, and controlled variables in your experiment. Next column here, plant photos. We want you to have at least 2 photos of each of your plants, okay? 1 is required, 2 would be better, so we can see some progress. If it didn't grow, that's okay. At least you can show on 2 different days that there was no growth. The data table, you are going to build your data table in a Google Sheets. There will be another video about how to do that. And then you'll take a screenshot of your data table and you will put it in here. Once you have your data table made in Google Sheets, you will also turn that into a graph, which will also be explained in the other video. And you will put your graphs here. You can either have one graph that shows your controlled plant and your experimental plants data, or you can have 2 separate graphs. That is up to you. So you should have at least 1 graph on your poster. 2 is fine as well. Now, next, you have your reflection and conclusion. This is going to be where you talk about what worked, what didn't work, why you think everything happened. So if your plants didn't grow, why do you think they didn't grow? If your plants grew really well, why do you think they grew really well? If they grew for a while and then stopped, why do you think that happened? And we want to try and get some evidence to back this up. So whatever you're saying happened, we want to try and find a source that agrees with that explains why. So in here, you are probably going to need some sort of source, and that's why you'll have a sources box down here. You also might want to have some of that in the introduction, because if you are claiming that plants need this, this, and this, we need to know where you're getting that information from. It could be your science notebook, that could be a source, or it could be an online source. So if you choose to use your science notebook as a resource, you just need to list your science notebook as a resource down here and list the pages that you used. Okay? So if you guys are going back and looking at this page, then for sure in your sources, you should have notebook page 66 as one of your sources. You can change the formatting of this however you want. If you find that this is really crammed, you can change the plant photos and put it over here and put the reflection conclusion in the middle. You can move these things to wherever you want so that you have space for all of them. They just all need to be there somewhere. So these three are kind of stuck. These three I think should be first, but these ones you can kind of move around wherever you want so that they fit. So I've had to put my sources in the middle before just so that everything fits right. You can choose to do it however you want to do it. So you have a lot of creative freedom with how you organize this and how you make it look, but this is the required information that must be there. And I hope this was helpful for you. Bye.